United States is withdrawing or withdrew from two bases in Saudi Arabia and in Jordan because of the recent attacks in Jordan. One of them, as you know, there were 4 casualties so far been announced, and many people were injured, and they were sent to Germany. And how do you see the situation, Scott, considering Jordan and the way that Iran is getting? It seems they're receiving intelligence from Jordanians, and it was confirmed. IRGC claimed that. Then Donald Trump confirmed that in his speech. He said that they were, sending intelligence to Iranians. That's why they know about our position in Jordan. And what is your understanding of the next step on the part of Washington? If Jordan is not safe, where are they going to go? Is that going to be in Israel? Is that going to be in, Greece, or maybe Bulgaria, or I don't know, Diego Garcia? What else can they do, in your opinion?
What else can who do?
The United States, because they have to use these fighter jets, these refueling tankers, these troops. They're not safe. Yesterday we had an attack in,
No, I know where
in
the attacks are. Yeah,
Bahrain.
yeah. I mean, what the United States will fall back on bases that will make them less susceptible to destruction. At some point in time, it's going to become very complicated to launch strike packages against Iran because, we have to deal with um, flight time, fuel. So you're gonna have to have planes take off, get refueled, fly, probably get refueled again, bomb, come back, refueled. So you could be looking, up to 4 or 5 refueling events, depending on how far back you put the aircraft. But our Air Force is designed to do just that. So the idea that we'll stop attacking Iran because we've moved these bases, no, will continue. But it doesn't matter because we're going to run out of ammunition soon. The fact of the matter is, the United States has a very finite amount of air delivered munitions available, and we're about to run out of them. And when we do, it's going to be catastrophic for the United States.
Yeah. Do you believe that the next step would be somehow Israel? And Israel doesn't seem to be willing to join the fight. Yesterday, Smotrich said that we're feeling just fine here. We don't want to join the fight. This is a tit for tat, and the United States is fighting the war, and we don't need to get involved. If they put these fighter jets and refueling tankers in Israel, is the war going to get to Israel finally?
It could. I mean, in theory, Iran could decide not to grant safe status um, to the Iranians and or safe status to the United States and Israel and begin attacking these targets. And this would escalate to Israel launching strikes back. But again, Israel in the original 39-day conflict was one of the parties suing for peace. Enough was enough. Um, and this is the reality. There's nothing that's changed in the Israeli military posture that implies that they might be able to get a different outcome from simply repeating bombing of the past. Israel gave it their best shot. They put their best set of targets out there and they dropped bombs on them. It didn't achieve anything. What the Iranians were doing in the end was blowing up office buildings that were not known to the naked eye, but to the insiders, they knew it was a place where Israeli intelligence was operating, a place where special systems were being developed or deployed or owned. And they uh, move on to the next one. I just got to tell you, it's
Yeah,
late here, so every once my brain
yeah,
brain wanders, and
yeah.
I
Um,
lost track of my answer there.
Scott, there are two concepts of this war for Iranians. There are people arguing Iran doesn't need to attack GCC countries; they have to attack Israel. And the other is the Iranian strategy that they're mostly focused on the Strait of Hormuz and attacking American positions, American weapons in the region. Which one do you think? How do you understand it, and which one would be more effective?
The one that wins the wars, which is attack American bases and attack Gulf Arab states. And focus. The people that want to strike Israel are Israeli haters. I'm not here to defend Israel. I'm not here to, try and say, oh, Israel's good, bad, and the other. What I'm here to say is that, from the Iranian perspective, their strategic goal is to drive the United States out of the Gulf, and you achieve that by defeating the United States. Your major effort to squeeze the world isn't bombing Israel, but to prevent oil for energy from departing the area, and if necessary, in retaliation, to destroy or damage oil production facilities, in the Gulf Coast region, et cetera. This is what Iran's doing. All the people that are saying, no, you got to attack Israel, they're the same people saying that Russia has to attack Europe. Why? I mean, Iran is winning right now. There's really no debate here, about the United States will not be able to compel Iran to alter its course on anything. Iran, on the other hand, as you indicated, has already compelled the United States to begin withdrawing out of bases that are, within immediate strike distance of the Iranians, pulling further back, and the world's running out of oil. The same conditions that caused Donald Trump to beg for an MOU on April 8th are about to be replicated. So I think the Iranian government knows what it's doing. The people calling for the strike of Israel, they just don't like Israel, and they're encouraging Iran to do something that will yield the strategic advantage that they've earned.
There were people arguing, Scott, in the United States, mostly appearing on Fox News. I'm mentioning this because this is the only outlet in the United States that Donald Trump watches. It seems that it's all about invasion. It's all about doing something in the Strait of Hormuz. They're talking about the Qeshm Island. They're talking about the Khark Island, something doing at the border with the Iraqi Kurdistan. And we know that in the recent days, Iran was attacking, the Iraqi Kurdistan and attacking Al Harir base, the U.S. base in Iraqi Kurdistan. And what do you make of these people arguing at this stage, arguing that the chance is high if we do that, we can liberate the Strait of Hormuz without having any sort of difficulties. We don't need to go to Tehran. We need to isolate the southern part and open up the Strait of Hormuz.
I think we, have to understand. I mean, who's articulating for this? We know there's people on Fox News. We know, but we've seen General Wesley Clark allude to this. We've seen Pete Pace allude to this, former general. We see non-military professionals talking about, we can do this. We can land troops ashore. We can seize this territory. But the fact of the matter is we can't. I mean, I just want somebody to explain how we're going to logistically support any landing force, because they go in with the basic load, whatever they can carry on their back or, on the landing craft. But then they're going to be vulnerable to resupply. We have to be able to get supplies to them. That means we either set up a harbor where we can bring in the trucks with the ammo and stuff, or we ship in the trucks on their own. Who knows? But the point is, logistics will define this. Marines, of course, have a proclivity for giving their lives in support of very dangerous assaults. That's why we built the Iwo Jima Memorial. But in the 1980s, the Marine Corps shifted their tactical focus away from the legacy operations of World War II, Vietnam, Korea, to a new way of war, maneuver warfare, which seeks to avoid these death traps. There's not there's no one, I don't believe there's anybody right now that in the Marine Corps that can articulate a viable plan. I mean, of course, if ordered to do something that's an lawful order, they'll do it. But the Marines have institutional memory, and we know what happened at Koh Tang Island in May of 1975 when, when sailors from the Mayaguez, an American flagged container ship, were taken off their ship by the Khmer Rouge. We thought they put them on Koh Tang Island. We sent a Marine battalion landing team, similar size to what we're talking about here with these Marine expeditionary units. Um, and I think it was 11 helicopters in the initial wave. 8 of the 11 either were shot down or suffered so much damage they had to flee with no ability to come back in the fight. The Marines were isolated on the bridgeheads. Marines were swimming for their lives in the water because their helicopter was shot down in the water. The Marines had to consolidate their holding, eventually get rid of one of the beachheads. The final beachhead collapsed in the middle of the night. And they left 3 Marines behind, an M60 machine gun. You got to understand, in the Marine Corps, we don't leave people behind. So this tells you how rushed and hurried this retreat from Koh Tang Island was. Guys, if we go into Karg Island, it's going to be worse than that. It's going to be more bloody. We're not going to win because it's a stupid assignment. The Iranians will have 80 kilometers of operational depth. Um, you know, if we go into Karg Island. That means we'll go in, whatever land we take, we have to hold, and the Iranians now will be able to strike us. And we have shown no ability whatsoever to meaningfully interdict Iran's ballistic missile force. So I think what we're looking at is, tactic from a tactical standpoint, advantage Iran.
Yeah. Do you, Scott, see that the conflict with the two today we've learned that the price of oil is 95 plus dollar a barrel, which is an outcome of the two straits, the Strait of Hormuz and the Bab el Mandab. And how long does it take for Donald Trump? The last time he announced the ceasefire, I assume that it was all about the oil market. It's about the economic pressure on Donald Trump. How do you see the situation right now? And are we getting to that point? Is he announcing somehow, I'm going to announce a new ceasefire, which I don't see Iranians going to accept that, by the way, because there is no talks, there is nothing happening in Iran excepting if Donald Trump tries to announce a ceasefire.
I think we're headed towards Donald Trump having to take some sort of unilateral action because of the detrimental consequences of his decision to re-engage militarily with Iran. I think the Iranians will accept it. I believe. I'm publishing a paper called Hybrid Diplomacy, and basically, Iran benefited from this. Remember, they negotiated an MOU that the Iranians said the Americans will never live up to. So if they knew that going in, why'd they negotiate it? Because it created the conditions not just for Donald Trump to buy oil and replenish stocks, but for the Iranians to sell oil, a whole bunch of oil. And I think that if Donald Trump were to resurrect the MOU at some date going forward, that the Iranians would, of course, say, we don't fully trust you, lay down additional conditions if they wanted to. But at the end of the day, they're going to, plug in their laptop and their telephone and get on with life, because that's what they have to do. This is what hybrid diplomacy is. It's basically using deceit to further your goals and objectives. And Iran's goals and objectives go beyond trying to defeat the United States. We're talking about national survival and the ability of Iran to mature into being a viable member of the BRICS Forum, the Shanghai Cooperation Organization, et cetera. In order to do that, Iran needs stability. And stability comes in moments where there is no active conflict. So I do believe that Iran will if Donald Trump reinduces an MOU, I think that Iran will accept it, maybe with a heavy caveat, but Iran has to demonstrate to the world that it's not the problem here, that it's not the one blocking peace. It's the United States through its irresponsible policies, through its current release of imagery and stuff. So yeah, I think both sides have an interest in embracing an MOU, and I believe that this is just going to be part of a cycle of on and off violence that'll go on for some time now, because neither side can afford to draw a hard line and say no, we're going to continue. We're not going to, Iran's not dying, but Iran is suffering harm from these strikes, and so I think that we could see a situation where Iran accepted the ceasefire proposed by Trump, knowing full well that it's just a sham, a charade. You can't believe anything, and we'll operate accordingly.
Iranians are talking about that since the MOU is not working, is not there anymore, and the new, if something happens between Iran and the United States, negotiating or talk or some sort of that messaging each other, it's going to be about all fronts. It's going to be about Yemen, because Yemen is just coming out against Saudi Arabia. They don't want to be under siege anymore. Yemen going to be part of it. Lebanon going to be part of it. They're going to talk about negotiate on Palestine as well. And it's going to be, if that sort of negotiations happen, it's going to be the negotiations of the century, in my opinion, if the things getting to in that direction.
I mean, that's the direction we're heading in. But I do believe that the Iranians will, because we're talking about time. We're talking about an energy security emergency that's taking place. So, I think Iran is going to be getting pressure from Russia and China, who are going to feel the effects of economic collapse globally. Russia Russia needs to produce oil, get it to market. China needs to buy oil and keep their economy running. So I do believe that they will put pressure on Iran to accept a interim continuation of the MOU, even though everybody knows that in the end the United States will just resume action. It's in their goal to manage the chaos. That's what hybrid diplomacy is all about, managing chaos. And so I do think that Iran will be pressured into accepting, an interim ceasefire deal that has as its foundational beliefs the